Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Capital Raising Show. I am your host, Tim Mai, and I have my awesome guest today, Ryan Dumas, on the line with us. His claim to fame, and the reason why I'm so excited to have him on today, is that in the last 2 months, he went from zero to $50 million asset under management in 2 months. That's basically a total of 3 properties, 3 raises, 92 units, a 60 unit, and 104 units for a total of 259 units in 2 months. Now, it hasn't always been, that fast, right? And that velocity. Ryan has, and he's going to share his story. He's going to, he tried race before and, didn't raise much, but he's been in the commercial finance war, SBA war over 8 years now. And so he does have a lot of experience when it comes to lending. However, it's an interesting, journey to learn from someone who have a lot of experience in financing and what they deal with when it comes to capital raising. And so I'm super excited. Ryan, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate it, man. Beautiful day in Clearwater, Florida here, man.
Nice. Yeah, Clearwater is one of my favorites for sure. I'm here in Houston, Texas. It's also a beautiful day here, but nowhere as nice as Clearwater, that's for sure. So Ryan, you've been in the commercial real estate space from a finance side for a long time. How did you get into? Did you jump straight into the commercial side, or did you start in the residential side?
Never did residential at all. I started in the commercial side as working capital and equipment finance for hotels, office space, and stuff like that. Got into that and started getting into the hotel sector and dug real deep into that. And I was doing all the conventions with the AHOA, which is Asian American Hotel Owners Association. And I've been to, I think, 6 or 7 out of the past 9 years. Except for COVID. Then I had COVID last year in the Texas show.
Gotcha.
That's how I got started. And then with the company I'm at now, with commercial financing, I've been with them for a little over 6 years, I believe it is. And they're based in Fort Myers, Florida, and been going to conferences and conventions the last 6 years with them. And the last 4 years been doing commercial financing on agency loans for apartments and bridge non-recourse as well.
Okay, that's great. So did you, when you first started, I guess, did you start at like a brokerage where you're just a loan officer and kind of grew up from there? Or how did you, share with us a little bit of your journey into that war?
Correct. I started as a loan officer. A buddy of mine's like, hey, you want to do some telemarketing? And at that time, I was in the hospitality industry for, I think it was 23 years. Started off as a dishwasher, server, bartender, manager, ran restaurants in Clearwater. And I was like, I don't know, telemarketer. I'm not cold calling. I didn't like it. I was a little more shy then too. And he's like, you just call up and 40% of the hotels, or 35% at that time, now it's 50-some%, are owned by Patel. He's like, yeah, just ask for, hey, Mr. Patel there, or, is the hotel owner there, and all that. And I'm like, man, I don't like that. So anyways, I went from not liking it, working through a brokerage company, to liking it and hitting some sales records. And by the time 6 months, a year and a half came by, I was hitting some records. And after a couple of years, I ended up getting another company was asking me to come aboard their team, because I was, you get like 25, 30,000 a year plus, 1%. And after you're making 40, 50,000, you're pretty much topping out and everything. So kind of topped out there. Went to a new company in New Jersey. That's basically where I started off at. And I ended up plugging in and branding myself, listening to Tim Bratz about that 8 years ago, Mark, where he said, brand yourself. And I brand myself as the traveling commercial finance guy, because I was going to conferences and traveling around, meet people, and ended up having about 2,500 hotel owners on my Facebook page.
Wow. That's awesome. So how did you get into the syndication war? What was your transition there?
So, I've been financing a lot of deals in our company. I'd say about 3 or 4 years ago, it was like, hey, we need to diversify. Lots of supply coming up with hotels, and we were doing some self-storage deals. We would do a pharmacy and some stuff here and there. And of course, I'm seeing people come in here that have a $500,000 net worth, $1 million net worth, and then I'm financing a deal, closing a deal with them, and then they're buying another hotel, another restaurant, or whatever it may be, and then they have a $3 million net worth. And I'm like, I'm going from a 20,000 net worth to a 40 to a 60, whatever it is. And so I knew it was in real estate. I never did much single family or residential side. So, I was like, hey, how do I do this? And long story short, was going to some commercial finance events with the multifamily, best ever conference, Rod Cleve. I was speaking at some events about financing, and they're like, well, have you ever thought about getting into it? And at the time I, thought about it, of course, but yeah, I just kept seeing people diversifying into it. And why next year, wait to get another commission and start back off at zero again? Why not have this residual cash flow or depreciation thing work for you itself? Especially if you have a 50 doors or 100 doors, it's easy to maintain it with property management. And, I just never wanted to get into hotels or restaurants the last few years because it's very, very hard to get into. So that was what I was, one of these conferences, one of these conventions, meeting people and everything. And then I was like, hey, if you need a partner, let me know. I can, I'd probably help out. So that's kind of how I basically start off. And then to dig into it a little bit deeper, I started meeting people that had, $1 million, $2 million in 401ks, self-directed and money sitting. And I'm like, man, if I can be a partner on this, and my partner Madeline's real good at, leasing out units. I'm like, we can have a role because you can't just raise money. I'm like, we can do the asset management together. She can lease out units. I can help out on consulting. I've consulted on 4 hotels for a few years. Maybe we can do that and raise some money. So that was kind of how we start off. And that was about 3 years ago.
That's awesome. I love that. Someone starting new, let's say, that's myself. I do have some real estate experience. And then I have a son who just turned 18 that I want to get into this business. And I've been thinking a lot about how to get someone as fresh as my son is, an 18-year-old, into this syndication war. And should I have him start like from the commercial mortgage side? Should I have him start from the commercial brokerage side, or have him start straight into the syndication war? What are your thoughts on that, especially coming from someone who's at like that fresh, 18 years old?
I wish I knew what, my God-given gifts and everything else. The main thing is, you got to know what they want to do. I would bring them to, I don't know if you did, I think you brought them to your conference and convention, but
yep.
The main thing is going to these networking events, going to the conferences, going to the conventions, seeing what they want to do, seeing what their God-given gift is, and then work with others as teammates that are better at what they're not good at, that can work together to have those same goals.
Right.
If I would have known all the things, or if I would have had that networking and it's just not networking, because I know people that go to 20 networking events a year and they haven't raised the dollar, they haven't sent out an LOI, they haven't,
right.
Any of those things. You got to take action. So it's a lot of everything. I know some people that have, 14, 15 single family homes, and they have a 50, 60% loan to value. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, why don't you refi? Why don't you refi? And this is like, a year ago, 6 months ago. Now they're like, well, maybe I can refi now. And I'm like, well, the rates we're 2.9%. Now they're 6.5% now. I'm like, so anyways, it's one of those things that, whatever it takes for you. I don't know each person's thing. It took me a while myself. Back in 2020, I was going to Best Ever Conference and some other conventions, and I had money invested into other people, and I lost $7,000-8,000 earnest money, I believe it was. And then I had some money with some attorneys, and I ended up paying them off, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 as well. So, I didn't work with those team members anymore, and I don't think they've closed any deals since. It's just not worrying about the problem and problems I was having. And, that's some things I just learned recently, and focusing on the solution of how to get there.
Right. So, would you even recommend for him to learn the mortgage side, the financing side, or the agency brokerage side at all? Or, not mess with that and just go straight to learning syndications?
I would look at a little bit of both. Right now, the commercial side and single is going to be getting depleted with the rates going up. So, you get roles in some of these things. I think learning is good, but jumping into a job and everything else that might be there. Mm-hmm. But anything that he can go into with you, if you're looking at it and you're like, hey, start reaching some brokers on the residential and commercial side both. seeing what you like. You might be able to work with some hard money lenders and get some deals taken down, because if the banks are at 6% rate, 6.5% rate, some of the hard money are at 8 to 10. That's not much difference now. So I mean, just seeing what he's good at. Everything is different for each person, but I don't think they should jump into commercial. I don't think they should jump into commercial financing. I mean, it could be, I was still learning a lot the first year, 2 years. I'm 6 years into it, still learning commercial finance. But it's one of those things that, I can't actually answer that question. But as much knowledge as they can get, and see where they can learn, and see where it might coincide or work with you and everything else. But learning it all, learning it and seeing where they plug in at, and go from there.
Right. That's awesome. How much have you, so like out of these 57 million asset under management, these 259 units that you've done so far, how much have you personally raised from that? And what was the total raise of those projects?
I don't have the personal raise on those, but I know they were between 3 and 6 million each. And I raised anywhere between $450,000 and $950,000 on each one of them. And then we're also working on the asset management side as well.
That's per deal, right? So you said you have 300 to 950 per deal. So
correct.
So yeah, out of the 3 deals, you probably have raised at least like $1.5 million or so.
Well, one was 9, 9, 4, 5. So right around 2.
Oh, around 2 million. Okay, awesome. All right. So has that, whether it's 2 million, or even the total raise of, I guess, between those 3 deals, probably 20 million raise or something like that. Has that amount, like raising that amount, ever seemed daunting for you at, before? Like it seems like a lot at one point?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is I've been in commercial financing. I know a lot of people with money, and I know we talked earlier and everything, Tim, but I mean, it's one of those things where not like I'm a big shot or I think I can do it. I'm like, oh, I can raise $1 million, 2 million, no shot. So no problem.
Okay.
So, I mean, being in the commercial financing, knowing people with a lot of money, I thought I could raise $1 million, 2 million, no problem. And gotcha. I mean, we can talk about it later, but there's a couple of deals that I told you about before that 3 years ago, I mean, I thought it was easy raising $1 million, 2 million, and it's not easy. So
yeah, well, let's go into that right now. So you gave this a try before 3 years ago, right? 2 or 3 years ago. So share with us your experience back then. What did the deal look like? What were some of the challenges you faced in trying to raise money for that deal?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of touch on it like briefly now, people are like, oh, you're doing great. I'm like, you don't know half of what I did the last couple months, last couple of years. I mean, because the first 2 co-GP deals that I've closed now are with the same co-GP people that are very good, very experienced, everything that I failed at a year and a half and 2.5 years ago, whatever it is exactly, but I failed at that. But I mean, instead of walking away, like I know a lot of people that have failed at it and walked away, and now they're back to single family, they're back to being a broker, whatever it is. And, my financing, I'm still doing it. But, with rates going up and everything else, I'm glad I'm in the multifamily side, but I just kept pushing. I keep listening to Ed Millett. I keep listening to people like, you, Tim, and these conferences. And I keep, I have a coach with Jake and Gino. I have, Yating and Jennings Smith in a deal room. I mean, I just keep plugging in. I have a life coach in Sarasota that I pay monthly now. I mean, I just keep plugging in because all of us can fail, but it's all about just getting back up one more time.
Right. Yep. And so what was some of the major challenges? I know you share about like the, there's challenges of like people already deployed their money elsewhere. There's challenges, maybe they don't like the deal or the location of the deal. Can you share with us some of those challenges?
Yeah. I mean, so there's a few different things. I mean, I think if you have 3 investors that have $2 million, you think you're going to raise 2 million, you're not. Or, I mean, unless you really know them and they're like, hey, I'm going to put it in there. But usually they'll go, hey, here's 50K or 100K. And you're like, man, that guy had $1 million. I thought I was going to get 500K or more, guy, lady. Yeah. But it's one of those things. It's a numbers game. One of those things also is it's not the deal. It's the people. That's very big. That's very big. I'm like, hey, man, it's, X amount of cash on cash. It's 22% IRR. And they're like, So what's up with your partners? How many deals have they done, and this and that? And so, I mean, that's where I learned that, the first deal we tried, in 2020, that we, didn't get closed. And then, COVID came and they wanted more money down and everything else, the 12 months in reserve. Our team, we were all new. So I couldn't say, hey, they have 20 units, they have 100 units, they've went full circle. I couldn't say anything. So I think it's very good to have people that are experienced in the deal.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of factors that are involved into this process and everything else.
Right. All right. And then
But,
what are some of the objections that you got, and how did you handle them? So one objection is, the experience, obviously, and that just comes with time. But what are some of the other objections you got?
I mean, other things is they might not like the location. You're like, hey, we're in Louisiana or we're in Washington. You got to know where your investors are at. If they're a doctor in Florida, they might not want to invest in Washington. So you have to really feel what your investors want. You got to get them comfortable with the deal, the team, location, but you really got to know your investor too. But I think objections, there's a lot. There's people that, I just put $300,000 in our deal. And I'm like, oh, cow. But they really got to know you. I think it's also the trust. So if you're just trying to text somebody and say, hey man, I got a deal here. We need X amount of dollars on it. There's a lot of people that don't know you, or they know you as something else. Like, I know you as financing, what are you going to do in this project? But there's a lot of objections like, hey, it's your first deal, right? But then you say, hey, Javier, my other partner, have closed on 6 deals. They went full circle on 2 deals. I don't understand it yet. Here's the OM, and you go over it. Main thing is, going on a Zoom, getting them to see your face so they can, kind of tell, what you're doing and how you're doing things, and, your personality. Some people know the people they've been dealing with. And, once you close a deal too, have you closed a deal with those partners? No. But once I say, hey, we've closed a deal with these partners 2 times or 3 times, it makes it easier. Now I got somebody that's like, hey, we're putting $200K in the deal. They don't even want to see a Zoom, or they don't even want to talk, maybe even on a phone call now. So, I mean, the hardest thing is the first deal. It could be the location. It could be the people you're working with in the team, experience. But there's a lot of things. I mean, some people just say, hey, I just put money into a deal last week. But I think it's also finding out what's best. Like right now, it's best if you have a 1031 exchange, somebody can't find their investment property, or somebody has a 401k, like a self-directed IRA, and they're not making much money on it, to put them into a good property.
Right.
But also, I mean, these investors that are savvy investors are looking too, and they're like, how come your exit cap is the same as your incoming cap? If rates are going up and this and that. So it's good to be non-aggressive. Investors like that, and it's good to touch on the people and the team and location and how you're doing things. And then also, a lot of the investors like somebody that's boots on the ground, that's close by. You don't want to be being in Washington. Everybody lives in Florida.
Right. Okay. So would you say that so in terms of looking at all the objections, there are objections that can't be handled, I can't be overcome simply because it's not in that investor's buy box, right? Investing box. And then there's objections that can be overcome, like you said, like having boots on the ground, having experience. So there's both of those objections to think about. Yes. And so does volume of investors that you're talking to make a big difference? So for example, the first deal that you did that you didn't raise, you weren't able to raise any money for, how many investors did you talk to versus one of your recent deals that you did where you were able to raise money for? Like, how many investors did you talk to? So I want to get an idea on the amount of conversations that are needed to raise these money.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't think about how many I reached out to before, but I know that when I was living in an RV about 1.5 years ago, when we were working on a couple of projects, I wasn't as I was a little more comfortable, I guess you want to call it. So I mean, I'm gonna text 20, 30 people, but now we have about 500 to. I mean, my partner Madeline put in our investor portal about 500 people. And then as of about last week, we've reached out to more people that I had, business cards, contacts with. We have close to like 800 or 900 people.
I see.
Once it's all a numbers game. I mean, 50 people reaching out to, and then, reaching out texts, reaching out via email, reaching out, meeting them in person. People want to meet in person. People want to get on a phone call. If you just text you and say, hey, I got an investment here, or an email, you might only got 10% of people open it up, and then 5% of people read it. But if you call somebody and, I meet people, but instead of meeting just other general partners and everything, now I'm strategically meeting passive investors that just want to be passive, doctors, surgeons, and stuff like that. And I'm meeting them. Hey, well, we go golfing on Fridays. I'm like, okay, cool. Can we meet, Friday, go golfing, or Thursday on a day off, we'll get breakfast or lunch, and, just being determined of, getting them on the team, and then, hey, we'll get on a Zoom call next week. But just about that personal relationship, especially the ones that are local. But then if you have people that are further away, just building that relationship with them, those investors, because some people, they don't really care about making double the money. They just don't want to lose that $50,000, $200,000, $300,000. So they want to know you.
Right. Okay, that's great. Yeah. So obviously your volume when you first started versus now is very different. Your investor pool sounds like it's multiplied a lot. Okay. And then what's
we want to get to be where, like, I mean, even some of the guys out in Texas that are out there, and they'll have like, 500-600 investors that invest, and they close that one day. It's like, wow, like I'd love to get there where, where we can have our GP split and raise $4 million, $5 million and close that one day. But we're going to get there. I mean, we keep raising our goal.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So what is the investor profile what is your ideal investor profile now that you're targeting?
I mean, my investor that we're targeting, I mean, is pretty much a 506c accredited investor that could be a doctor, a surgeon, an investor, whatever that may be. But I'm strategically targeting doctors, surgeons, and attorneys right now that have $100,000 to $500,000 sitting, or cash, or 401ks that want to either diversify or put their money in from 401k or 1031, or some of these people that are investing into real estate and then they're losing money because they're, people are stealing from them or whatever it is. But just another investment opportunity for those sophisticated, accredited investors, and meeting up with them. But just trying to find the best way where we can get those investors involved with us.
Right. And what would you say is their motivation, a pain point to invest their money?
I mean, the motivation, I think, is, there's that, depends on their motivation, but some of the ones I have, they're just losing money in stock markets and 401ks, and it's just up and down. And they're like, oh, I wanted to invest in the real estate, commercial real estate or multifamily 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 2 years ago, and I haven't. But it's just the motivation of being in a safer asset, and then working with an experienced team, because I know some people that are investors like, oh, I just want to invest in my own stuff. And, and they've had money sit in the bank or 401ks for 2 years, and it really made them nothing. And I know this last couple of years is, pretty bad for 401ks and stock market, but they're up and down. I mean, if you look at every 10 years for multifamily, the assets can be worth 8 million, 10, 12, 14. It's going to keep going up.
Right.
So, but I just like to help the investors out of another opportunity to invest into a much safer asset that can make them a good bit of money. And then if they are a real estate professional, they can depreciate the asset. And then, if any of them want to, GP, and they're good at a certain role and they want to raise some money as well, get them aboard with us as well.
Awesome. So how do you target these investors, these doctors and lawyers? How are you meeting them, reaching out to them? What marketing, strategy are you doing with them?
Well, we're doing different strategies, and I'm going to start learning this every day, because I just got to that 950K mark, and I'm actually asking the ones I've dealt with, hey, do you have any other doctor friends? Do you have any lawyer friends? Do you have any investors I can meet up with? So, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to start meeting up with them, because some of them are in North Carolina, some of them are in Texas, wherever it is, meeting with them and see if they can bring 2 or 3 friends, have dinner. So instead of having them invest 2 or 300K, they can invest with their friends, 6 to 900K. So that's what I'm doing. I'm building a better relationship with those investors that I've met, and I do 506C on most of those deals. So some people I really don't know, but getting to know them better. But for new people, I'm going on LinkedIn. I'm trying. I haven't really been too successful at it yet, but I'm going on LinkedIn. I'm going on Facebook. Getting attorney groups, and then I'm trying to reach some local attorneys and lawyers. And I've had a couple of Zooms, and then a couple of them will say, "Hey, here's what we're doing. See if we can get some clients." I'm like, well, we talked on LinkedIn about investing. Well, I can, if you do something in my office, I can bring about 4 or 5 other attorneys over. I'm like, okay, cool, perfect.
Oh, I love it.
So
okay.
yeah. So that's my goal, is to just do passive investments in doctors' offices. And if I can raise, $1 million to $2 million at a once every 2 months visit, that's definitely something that I want to be doing. Maybe not every month; it gets kind of boring, but every 2 months. And then if we don't have a deal going on, still meeting up and saying, "Here's the deal we just closed. Hey, this is the deal we bought a year ago, and it's doing this amount." And then having my partners, because I'm working with the same pretty much partners on most everything. So we're co-GPing, and so I'm like, "Hey, here's what we're doing. Here's this deal here. Let us know, and we'll get their information." So 10 new doctors and attorneys come. We're getting a good base instead of getting 100 new people, investors. We have no clue what they have. There's 5 or 10 fresh ones, right. And then it's close to me, so I can always visit them. And it's just so I think that local relationship, because everybody's like on Facebook, and we'll post stuff, but you only get like one person out of every so many 100 or 1,000 people to see it, and like, "Hey, I have a 1031 or I have a 401k or whatever it is. Hey, I went in on this other deal on your portal." I'm like, "I'm sorry, but that's a 506B. It's just friends and family." So but it's just educating them on these deals. But really, I think that these people that are sitting on money locally to you is reaching out. Even at Starbucks, if you had a place and you buy somebody a drink, you don't know if they're a doctor or an investor. "Oh, I got $300,000. I invest 50K to 100K on my deals," especially if it's a first person, a first time deal. But I had somebody that invested 50K on a deal. It was the first time. I didn't know they had money, and they were a pretty good friend of mine. Now they're investing 200K on the deals because now they know us.
Gotcha.
But it's hard to get the first deal done. But once the first deal is there, if you have networking and people and processes, and it's a good team, and they like you, they'll ask you again. "Hey, let's work again. Let's form that partnership and everything." So that's what I've succeeded at.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And the ones that you mentioned that were out of your area, like in Texas or North Carolina, how did you meet them? Is it through online social media, and then you set up a meeting in person?
Yeah. Are you talking about the GPs, or are you talking about my investors?
No, the investors that are not in your local area. How did you meet them?
Yeah. That was all out on sponsoring Facebook, or they came to me for financing two years ago, and I'm like, "Hey, are you okay, I see your PFS is the same. Are you looking at investing?" And he's like, "Well, I invest in some things, and I just made $1 million on selling my one business." I'm like, "Well, I got a 56 depreciation on this." So a couple come from that, but not really many come from there. But and then Facebook, when I sponsor something, so they'll come on that. But it's just about showing experience and closing deals. And once you do that, then they reach out. But Facebook is kind of where a lot of them are starting to come from, and that's where my commercial financing business, started exploding. Making 6 figures, 5-6 years ago, came from all Facebook.
That's awesome. And so what are some of your strategies and how you position yourself so that they see you as an expert, they see you as an authority? What are some of those strategies?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is meeting up with them personally. But they really got to understand your team. They got to know about you. Like I said, not the deals. I mean, talk to them. I mean, some people will text them. It's like, "Hey, let's go on a call." And I've learned from a lot of others that, especially with the COVID and everything else, that FaceTime and Zooms are really cool, because then they can see you and they can see you like in there. A lot of people do like that. I meet other investors, and they like that I'm not wearing a suit and a tux when I'm meeting them, trying to sell them on something. And I think you're not selling them. You're not selling them as an investor. You're trying to create another option for them to invest to make money. So I think that's the thing. You're not selling. It's like, here it is. And then, do you have any questions about our team? This is a good location. What do you think about it? What do you think about partners? Not just saying, are you putting money in yet? How much money are you putting in? How much money are you putting in? Do you have 50K, 100K? How much is it? And also me being on the finance side, I, sometimes might know that, like, what's your, what do you have in 401ks? What do you have invested in? Some people are scared to answer those questions. So I think that's one thing that's valuable for me, is I'm not really scared to take it. And I'm like, listen, I'm in commercial financing. And he's like, well, I got 2 million in 401ks. I'm like, how much are you making? I'm not making much at all. I'm like, well, is anything self-directed? How about starting off with 50K or 100K? So I'm not aggressive going, hey, put the whole $1 million in here. So that's one thing I'm not good at, but it gets them started, because I know people that start off don't want to start off with, their full investment in
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And then would you recommend someone starting out in being a syndicator or capital raiser? Would you recommend the exact same strategy that you're sharing now, in terms of meeting with people in person, get to know them, allow them to get to know you? Would you recommend the exact same way?
Well, I mean, I think everybody is different, but I think anybody that's even good at underwriting should also be good at raising a couple of $100,000, so when they get a deal out, they're not going, hey, I can't raise any money, or I can't do this in the deal. I think everybody is a team. That's how we work. It's everybody, to raise capital and meet people local. Let your family and friends know that you're investors. Some people don't even know. It's like, oh, I didn't know my friend had 500K in his 401ks, or he's not making any money, or he sold a house to business, made 300K, and you can't find another one that's a good price range. But branding yourself, letting everybody know what you do is very important. But I think everybody is different how they work. But find something to have with a team, and everybody help raise money together is, I think, the best opportunity.
Awesome. And then, in terms of maintaining these investor relationships, what are some of the tools or strategies that you use to keep them updated, and how often is that?
I mean, like I was saying, the tools, our portal system once a month on our subs coming out saying, hey, here's the 3 deals that we've closed. Here's how we're doing on the deals. We're leasing these units out. We've raised rents $300. And then, like I said, also, calling them up personally and saying, hey, thank you for what you did. And then people that I have that invest usually, $200,000 or $300 or more, I'll usually send them a special gift too, for me personally.
Nice. I like that.
So,
okay. And let me see here. Now your goal is to target the accredited investors, but some of your raises are 506B as well. Is that correct? Where you do take on non-accredited investors?
Yeah, we had one 506B that was for our non-accredited investors, which are sophisticated and non-sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
So we do those as well, but we just did one of those to friends and family. Stuff like that, but no advertising on Facebook. A little bit harder deal sometimes and everything, but
right.
But then you can get people that can, people that
right.
don't have that $1 million net worth and everything else, that can put in, $50,000, $25,000, and then be able to invest. And then, in a year, 2 years, whatever it is, they might be sophisticated and going in with your sophisticated deals that, later on down the road.
Awesome. So let's say, you already established a relationship with them. Now they get to know you. They've seen you do some deals. But they've never invested with you. What would be like the first conversation or the first thing that you say to them to ask for their money?
I think the best thing is, asking them to get on a call with your partners that have the relationship, and get a relationship with them that have the experience, and have them discuss the deal and discuss their partnerships. So, it's, if they know you already, there's only so much you're gonna be able to discuss on the asset. But I think also that, if you have a good asset and they don't know you, they might want a phone call with you first. Depends on how that investor works. Like I have an investor, I'm like, hey, you want to get on a Zoom? He's like, I want to get to know you first. So
right.
I have a call with him. Today. And then we already set up a Zoom for tomorrow with the whole team.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I love that.
I already have the Zoom on there, and hopefully it's a great call. And then he, gets the partners on there. He's getting his wife on there. Sometimes they'll have their tax professional. Sometimes they want a friend on the phone, and I always invite them. Like, hey, get a friend on the phone too, whatever it is. But just trying to get them. If it's close by, it's like, hey, let's meet for coffee or something. But of course, if they're in a different state, it's a little bit harder. But
yeah, awesome. What's your goal to raise? Whether your, I guess, short-term, long-term goal, either in dollar amount that you want to raise or dollar amount of asset under management that you want to have, or units, whatever. Yeah, how do you define your goals?
I mean, on the syndications, I mean, we're looking in Texas and the Southeast. We got pretty good deal flow with our same co-GP partners, and I'd love to be in the $2 to $5 million raise. It'd be nice if we need $4 million and we can raise the whole amount. Maybe some of the team members, raise some money as well too. And then we really turn these assets around, the asset management with my partner Madeline, and we just do a good job on these deals instead of coming to the finish line late or not finishing them and everything. And a couple of deals that we came in, we actually helped close a couple of these deals out with some of the experienced owners. So it was good, and I'm just happy that they had faith in us to come in there and complete those raises. But we want to be able to raise that $2 to $5 million on deals. And then just kind of go from there, and then eventually work on some developments and stuff from there too.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, Ryan, this has been an awesome interview. I thank you so much for just being straight up and share with us, everything from your wins to your struggles to the challenges you went through. Really appreciate your honest answers on all of these, and looking forward to to learning from you more for sure. I'm a couple of years behind you. I'm at the beginning of my capital raise, and so these informations. I mean, they're more for me than for the show, really. The questions I've been asking, because I really want to learn these things from you. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. I mean, just one of those things is keep focusing, keep being determined. Don't give up, and keep surrounding yourselves around others that are doing better job at capital raising or whatever that may be, and just keep learning, because just my opinion is my opinion, and the way I've done it is different. And you just got to research it out, go to other meetups and everything, and check it out. But it's not easy. You just got to just keep failing at some stuff. Some people are around a bunch of people that have millions of dollars, and they're like, oh yeah, it's my dad's son told me to put in this amount of money or whatever it is. But there's only been a couple people that I know that never had problems with it. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. But it's surround yourselves around those others and keep yourself accountable and keep going.
Awesome. Thank you so much, buddy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next show.